Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic-Booksters. I'm Nerdcore. With me is Obi the Boy.
Welcome back to Comic-Booksters.
And we're joined once again by our buddy Twice Nice Samurai.
Hello.
So we're here to talk about Wonder Woman, but you're catching us here on YouTube, and be sure to check out our partner OutrightGeekery.com for more awesome content. But yeah, how about this movie, right?
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I highly enjoyed it, and I was going in... I wanted it to do so well, but I literally walked in with no expectation because of what's come before with Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad.
And Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Man of Steel not as much. Like, I know you didn't particularly care for it.
No, I didn't like it. I don't think Zack Snyder knows how to make a good movie.
And Obi, you enjoyed it though initially, right?
Yeah, and after sequence of rewatching it, I find the last 20 minutes of it to be hard to take.
Yeah, it became a thing where, I enjoyed that movie when it first came out. Granted, I thought it had its flaws, but I enjoyed it less in retrospect after watching Batman v Superman. But now we've got Wonder Woman, which is, neither here nor there, which is awesome and is exactly the kind of film that WB and DC needed to be able to jumpstart this universe at this point.
It wasn't DC that needed it. It was the whole comic book movie industry needed that movie.
Well, yeah, it has a very important place in the history of comic book movies at this point.
It was, first female book movie for superhero.
Yeah, starring, directed by.
Yeah. So that was big, and then the fact that it killed its opening weekend, and it killed whatever Tom Cruise. It killed a Tom Cruise movie, and old folks will go see a Tom Cruise movie just because it's Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, it knocked Mummy right out of the water this past weekend, which is when we're recording this after weekend 2.
That movie needed to be done because the Marvel stuff's getting stale. The DC stuff was just bad. It's watchable sometimes if you're in the right mood.
But no, it's bad though. It's bad, and this is a good ground floor. They need to do what Marvel did with Iron Man and just use this as the template for all their movies from now on. They need to be Wonder Woman clones, basically.
But you don't want to do that because that's why Marvel is so stale at the same time. It's because they are just all Iron Man clones.
I'm really hoping for something different from Aquaman than what we got from Wonder Woman, but I think what Wonder Woman absolutely gets right is the fact, and it's what I was saying about the DC movies since Batman v Superman and since Suicide Squad, is that they just need to have faith in their characters and make a faithful adaptation. That's all they have to do, and they did that in spades with Wonder Woman, and it worked.
Yeah, I think the note that they really need to take from Wonder Woman is how tight of a film it is pacing-wise. How it just goes from one thing to the next. It doesn't feel like a chore. Like Batman versus Superman is all over the place.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman, you barely get any 20-minute trench coat dream sequences. It's it's weird.
You could almost say there were none.
Yeah, Like, normally they're all over the place. Like, Suicide Squad was just downright boring for a huge chunk of the middle.
Agreed.
Which is unbelievably weird. You have all these, weird, interesting villain characters in this, apocalypse scenario. It should not be boring. That's the last movie it should have been boring. But Wonder Woman just keeps moving. It goes from one to the next. It doesn't feel rushed either. That's, I think, the lesson they need to take is the pacing. It's a tight film. It's a very tight film.
Speaking of the pacing, a lot of Wonder Woman actually reminded me of 1978's Superman the movie that Richard Donner did, because that film was definitely in 3 acts. For me, the period of time on Themyscira kind of mirrored the Krypton opening with Marlon Brando, and then her time arriving in man's world until you get to that climactic final battle. And that... I think that was the way to go. And going back to that kind of basic formula that Superman set way back in the day, I feel was definitely the right call for this movie.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, actually, I didn't think about it like that. It does really nicely parallel it. You're right with the 3 acts. That's well done. Let's see why you do this, Nerdcore.
Yeah, I try. Anyway, let's get into a little bit of spoiler territory with Wonder Woman.
Sure.
So from here on out, there's spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet,
go watch it.
Yeah, you should have seen it by now. It's really good.
But we're going to be spoiling things from here on out, so you've had your chance. So speaking of this movie starting on Themyscira, how did you guys like the portrayal of the Amazons?
Do you want to go first, Obi?
Go ahead, you go first.
Okay.
You're a guest.
I was gonna say I think it was great. I mean, General Buttercup, and like it was awesome. It shows them as this warrior race. I like that it from the beginning gives you a sense of like Diana's isolation growing up because she's the only kid and she's like practicing judo on her own and stuff. Like I thought it was wonderful. They really could have hammed it up and kind of ruined the Amazons, and I think they did a great take on it.
I really liked how picturesque all those shots when they're training turned out as well. Like, it wasn't over-sexualized or anything, which was something that I kind of did have a concern about going in.
Yeah.
But it almost just looked like, like classic Renaissance artwork almost. I know we've given Zack Snyder a lot of flack for slow-mo and whatnot, but this was worked in a way where where it slowed down to almost a halt and you just got like this great picturesque shot that wasn't so much comic book paneled or over sexualized as comic book material can be, but it just looked like fine artwork, and I thought it was a really great aesthetic for that scene.
And it was really great how Themyscira, compared to the rest of the film, especially the stuff taking place in the war zones, it's very brightly lit. It is like a paradise, and it really does. Like, I want to look at like the whole reel of the whole film because it is a stark difference. Like you said, like the way it looks, it kind of mirrors like her innocence growing up in paradise, and then she realizes what the world of man is, and that's where you get that Zack Snyder everything's gray, everything, but like Themyscira is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is paradise in that movie.
I think my favorite part was when she finally figured out that how the bracers worked for her. That scene where they just shocks everyone and they're like, yeah, that's why she's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And it's like no one was expecting it either.
Yeah, she's just like...
And it's such a stark contrast between Themyscira and the rest of the movie, because when Trevor crash lands, which props to Chris Pine for his performance as Steve Trevor, by the way.
Very good.
Gal Gadot is the MVP of this movie as Wonder Woman, but Chris Pine is a very close second. It was a very strongly casted movie. But just the contrast between when he gets chased by the Central Powers into Themyscira, the contrast between how bright and colorful Themyscira is compared to the rest of the outside world. I really like that. It almost made me want to say that I could forgive, 3 movies of just grayscale tones. Almost. Not quite.
Yeah, and it's one thing when you do that with Batman, but with Superman...
Yeah, Superman should definitely have some color.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah,
all of it.
A
Yeah,
small
all of it.
amount. A small amount. Maybe blue. Yeah.
You mean like actual blue, not midnight blue?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thoughts on Chris Pine as Steve Trevor while we're on this subject? Because he plays a very pivotal role in this movie.
For me, it doesn't surprise me because I've seen him work in some really small movies, and he was Kirk, obviously, in Star Trek. The dude can act, so it wasn't... For him to have second billing just shows you how much trust they had in Gal Gadot, because it's not... He doesn't have, like, the biggest fan base, because a lot of people do hate those Star Trek movies and such, and this was probably the second best movie I've ever seen him acting in, and one of the best movies I've ever seen him in. I don't think I might have been one of like 50,000 people that have watched that movie.
What was it?
It's called Bottle Shock.
Bottle Shock?
Bottle Shock.
It used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it still is. It is a great movie if you get a chance to watch it. It's literally all about just wine, but it's him. And has Alan Rickman in it, and it's about a winery when California decided to go up against France for the first time in a wine competition, and they won.
Oh, I never heard of this movie.
It is a fantastic movie. If you get a chance to see it, you won't see him like you usually see him. He has long hair. He's kind of like a hippie.
Okay.
He's like a dropout kind of. So like stark differences in what that dude did later on in his career.
He's a fantastic actor. I mean, he's got some of the best range I think I've ever seen, because I've seen those Star Trek movies, and I've seen him in a number of other things, and, Chris Pine is fairly amazing, and, Steve Trevor can be a hard nut to crack. I mean, when you look at the character's history in comics, he was more or less a male Lois and Lane ripoff for the longest time. I really only think that Steve Trevor has become interesting. He was interesting when George Perez tackled the book and relaunched it in the 1980s, and I don't feel like he's been really interesting since until Greg Rucka picked it back up during Rebirth.
Yeah, see, Steve Trevor to me growing up, he's Duke from G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he is. They took Duke from G.I. Joe and put him in a comic. But as far as Chris Pine goes, I'm not a fan. I don't like Chris Pine normally. I liked him in this though. This is probably my favorite thing he's done since Smokin' Aces. He's really great in it because, like you said, he's Diana's foil. You know, he has to play the straight man to all this ridiculous stuff that she's doing. And at some points, he's the damsel in distress, which I actually really, really loved.
Yeah.
And he's always just, get back, don't get hurt. And then she saves his ass.
Or maybe not.
Yeah, but she does it multiple times, you
Yeah.
know. And I actually really like that. And then her comparing him, if he's the average man and his ego getting in the way and stuff. No, Chris Pine did an excellent job in this movie.
He did. And I feel like, we talk about ego and we talk about the chauvinism aspect that comes out of that time period, that his character. But in the end, what I feel like he really represents is he becomes Diana's idea of what the best humanity has to offer is.
Yeah. And,
it's something that like I said, he has great range, but as an audience member, you just feel it. That Steve Trevor is really, the best of what humanity has to offer. And the movie does a great job of just being able to have the audience feel that through Diana's eyes. It's amazing. Her and Trevor leave the island. They go back to the London. And, it didn't dawn upon me until I was thinking about it here just before we recorded, just how many sidekick characters there are in this movie. There's more than I can really think of in any other.
Yeah, she basically has her own
movie.
Howling Commandos. She gets her multi-ethnic crew of scrappy do-gooders.
I guess Captain America: The First Avenger kind of had the same setup, but I don't feel like the
It
commandos were as well defined as some of these characters. Though I will say I can name more of the Howling Commandos than I can name some of the guys that Diana teamed up with.
Yeah, but I think that's
movie.
because of the comics.
Yeah.
In the movies with Captain America, he's got the guy with the hat.
Dugan.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm just trying to think of in the movie how they portray him. He's like, you got the guy with the hat, and you got the one he grew up with,
Bucky.
I can't even think of what any of the other Howling Commandos in the movie looked like or did.
Yeah.
Hat guy and Bucky. Yeah.
They were the most prominent ones.
But this one, I mean, they all got backstories. They all have a character to them. They get little scenes. That's so nice. Like you said, there's a lot of sidekick characters, but they all have little scenes to develop their characters, so they don't feel like they were just shoved in. Except maybe the Indian chief guy. That seemed kind of like just shoved in because they wanted one.
I could see that a little bit. I still think the best was Etta Candy. Etta Candy rocked in this movie. And that's a character that when they were tossing around, obviously once trailers started coming out, I realized that Etta Candy was going to be in this movie. But I almost thought that they might not put her in because that's also a character that's had so many different incarnations and you really just don't know what to expect. Some of them based on she had like a 1940s look to her, which was cool. But I feel like she also had the office that she's been given in later incarnations, which was nice.
No, I thought she was great. I thought actually that's the secretary, right? Like she pretty much stole the show in her limited scenes. Like everyone she's in, she definitely gets some big laughs and like I really really liked her.
Yeah.
I actually I remember leaning over while we were watching, just going like, oh yeah, she's cool. Like No, yeah, and they definitely they started off again her just being sort of the yet another comedic foil there for Wonder Woman, but she ends up being useful. I love her pulling out the sword.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that definitely. I was surprised. I thought she was going to come across as very annoying when she first gets introduced, but halfway through her first scene, I was sold on it.
Oh yeah, she was great. What did you think, Obi?
I really did enjoy her. My favorite thing, though, from when they go back to London is I'm so glad they picked London as the city for them to go back to. And they did a good job of portraying what London looked like around that time. of just how dark and disgusting that city literally was.
I mean, it's early 20th century.
Yeah, the factory smog and stuff.
Yeah, but they could have got around it. They took their time to make sure you got the whole gist of the fact that this, like, she left a place that's always sunny, almost, to go to a place that's basically brown and black.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and that let them go back to that grayscale that they're comfortable with. But
they still had a lot of color in London.
No, they
because
did.
She wore all kinds of different outfits.
She did. While we're talking about
and
London,
the bar was all lit up.
It was, yeah, absolutely. I guess before we talk about some of the bigger set pieces, let's talk about the villains here a little bit, because you had really three main ones. You had Danny Houston as Ludendorff, and you had what was her name that played Dr. Poison? Anya. Sorry, but she played Dr. Morrow or Dr. Poison, and then you had Ares.
Yeah.
So, as far as these villains are concerned, how did they keep your attention? What did you think of the villains of Wonder Woman?
I figured out Ares way too early.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
Same here.
I didn't figure out necessarily that he was Ares, but I thought it was obvious from that character's introduction that he was the bad guy and he was at least going to be some sort of traitor or something. Yeah, the whole twist you could have seen coming from a mile away. But I don't know. My take on the villains, honestly, I thought they were one of the weakest parts of the movie.
Yeah.
The final battle scene was definitely one of the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah, that was. Ironically, the climax and the big battle was probably the worst part of the film. But yeah, no, the villains, they weren't really that well defined. They didn't keep me that interested. I thought like Dr. Poison was going to be more interesting, but then that doesn't pay off.
I did want more from Dr. Poison.
Yeah, I wanted more from Dr. Poison, but the little you did get from her, she seemed the most rounded out of the villains that they actually did have that.
And she worked as a great contrast to Steve Trevor, I think, because I think she shows humanity at its absolute weakest by the end of that movie.
Right, she does.
She is the flaws within humanity.
Okay. Yeah, but because she had let's see, you have most of her scenes are like flashback scenes. There's one or two of her like working. But you have like Steve Trevor taking her notebook. Mm-hmm. You have her like at that party where Steve Trevor like flirts with her, and then you have her at the end where they don't even like resolve that, what happened, to her. Then you just have her kind of like laying there like, huh? Like she didn't get that a lot there, and then. There's the German general guy. Ludendorff. Yeah, him too. You didn't get much. I think he was more of the worst of humanity, talking about how like war was good and all that, and like I didn't actually like the whole like I'm gonna huff this pill and then go Incredible Hulk for like. I thought the villains were actually one of the weaker parts of the film, but they don't hurt the film by any measure either. They really don't. It's just, like Marvel's got their thing where the villains are usually the best part of the film, and DC does not.
That's the thing. I don't think Marvel's really hit it out of the park with villains all that much. Like, they have Loki.
They did originally, though.
Yeah, they had Loki. I mean, Jeff Bridges' Ironmonger was good, but he's gone.
Yeah, Red Skull was great.
Yeah, but he's gone at this point, so far as I can tell. But, like...
They're going to be riding Thanos pretty hard.
Yeah. I feel like the only villains that Marvel really has proven themselves with right now are Loki and Wilson Fisk on Daredevil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty excellent.
Yeah. So, I just feel like those are the only ones that Marvel has really proven themselves with. Now, granted, they're miles ahead of DC with it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we had General Zod, who's dead and came back as Doomsday, and I think is dead again.
Yeah.
And we've had...
Well, it's Doomsday, so he's probably not dead. He's just in relaxation.
I guess you can count Harley Quinn and Deadshot, really. Like, any member of the Suicide Squad has the potential to be a villain later on.
They got Ninja from D. Antwoord to play Joker.
You have Jared Leto's Joker. I mean, I don't know. So it's... But I feel like, yeah, they definitely got like, and you got Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Oh, God.
Superman.
Yeah, right?
Oh, God.
Right? Exactly.
It's so bad.
But, so, I feel like this is moving in the right direction, but they really do need to up their villain game with DC. Not that I think that they have, as I don't really think they have far to go to catch Marvel with this, but we'll see.
They still haven't gotten one that knocked it out of the park, really. That they don't have their Loki. They don't have something like a bad guy we want to root for, really.
Right.
And they tried. They gave us a whole team of them. But they haven't, like you said, they haven't knocked it out of the park. They haven't gotten it yet.
Do you really want to root for Loki?
Kind of, yeah. He's awesome.
I really don't like Loki in the Marvel movies.
Really? All right. Weird. I loved it. I think they were doing too much, though. Once they realized people liked him and they started just shoving him in all the time, that was kind of annoying.
That's, I think, what drove me away from liking Loki. I think I liked his initial appearance, but then when they just kept trying to stuff him into everything else, I'm like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, they should have stuck with Thor and then the first Avengers. And
Still, my favorite thing that ever was on screen with Loki was when he got the crap beat out of him by the Hulk.
Oh,
right.
Pure God.
The ragdoll.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
I don't know. Loki, I thought he was used appropriately in Thor. He definitely should have been the villain in the first Avengers movie. I think Thor: The Dark World has had an interesting storyline for him. I think that he had an interesting character arc because at the end he technically gets what he wants, but I think now he definitely should be used sparingly to Thor movies in general. Like no Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, whatever they end up doing.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be staying within the Thor universe,
which they won't do because.
Well, I mean, so far, the only other movie he's been in was that Avengers movie, and then the 2 Thor movies, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it did feel like the second Thor, it felt like they put him in it just because...
Yeah.
More Loki, and he's in the movie more, and now he's on the Thor side!
and he sells tickets. But
yeah, he does.
Anyway, back to Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that was a great film, go see it.
So...
Agreed.
Real quick here before we discuss... let's delve into the negative here a little bit before we go into the positive. What, if anything, didn't you like about this movie?
I think we covered that already.
Just the climax of it.
The climax and the villains were weak.
Okay.
I think that's really the only. Which usually, if you say that about a movie, you're not going to like that movie.
Yeah.
So that tells you how much the rest of that movie is so good because the villains don't care. You don't, and the climax is another Suicide Squad. Like, it was
Well, I mean, it wasn't a
terrible.
beam in the sky, at least. I'll give it that. It wasn't sky beam, which was cool. And I liked the fake climax, because we're in spoiler territory here, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I liked her thinking she was going to solve everything, just, like, murdering that guy. And then
Ludendorff.
turns out, like, twist, nope, you still got to fight. But then, it was the worst part of the movie. The CGI, like, because I saw the movie twice now, and it was the second time it really started picking at the ending and looking at it. It's not very good. Like I mentioned to you guys, there was a couple seconds in this movie where it looks like the end of Kung Fury. Like, it's clearly a green screen, and her just kind of like... while, like, random computer-generated guys are getting their butts kicked, like, off the background, Like, there's a scene in Kung Fury where he just, like, stands like this and people run into his fists. It's kind of like that for, like, a good 10 seconds in Wonder Woman. It comes out of nowhere, and I find it really super distracting, but it doesn't hurt the film at all. It's still a great film. But the ending is, like, very, very sloppy. It felt like they didn't even finish, like, the special effects on some of it.
Yeah.
That last shot of her, like, flying towards the camera, like... And, it was, like, very clearly, like, someone standing in front of a green screen just like this with, like, a fan blowing on him. Like, and then, like, Ares, I mean, when he, with the CGI armor and stuff, I didn't mind. But they're doing the scene on the Ares reveal where he's, like, standing in a room where there's, like, windows on all sides and she's, like, walking around it. So I assumed it's going to be some sort of reveal where she, like, walks around the one corner, he's covered by a post, and when she comes back, he's going to be, like, Ares the god. But he's still just, like... skinny British dude with mustache, and even when he gets his full, like, Ares armor on, he's still Michael Palin underneath. Again, doesn't hurt the film, But like a little bit of a weird choice stylistically.
I mean, like David Thewlis. He played Remus Lupin in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And like I could see him being Ares, but I just feel like I don't know. They needed to like. Granted, they put the CGI armor and everything on him. I mean, they could have, I think, bulked him up a little bit with CGI. I don't know. He just make it more menacing in some regard.
Make it seem like his regular skin thing was like an illusion thing, and he's not like stuffy British guy. Again, didn't hurt the film, but it was a weird choice.
Favorite scenes. Let's bring this back around to end this on a high note.
I think on the boat. The awkward moment on the boat.
Yeah.
So you can't lie next to a woman?
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, so where you're from, men don't sleep with women? Yeah, that was a good scene. I was actually, I saw online, I think 2 days ago, that was apparently most of the boat scene was actually improvised.
Yeah.
Which is excellent. That shows their skill as actors if they can get in character enough that it was your favorite scene. They clearly sold it. So that's awesome. That's cool.
That scene was just hilarious, especially about when she's talking about the books, and he's like, maybe I should read them, and she's like, you won't like them. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. I can totally see her saying that to Steve, and Steve just being like, oh.
Yeah.
Poor Steve.
What about you, Twice Nice?
I think my answer would be the same as almost everybody's. I'm surprised he didn't say it. No Man's Land. It's where she becomes Wonder Woman. I actually, I whooped in the theater when she, takes off her coat and she's Wonder Woman. It's the first time you see her full Wonder Woman outfit, and she starts hitting the bullets and, running through it, and it's Saving Private Ryan for a minute, and that was the best scene to me. She becomes Wonder Woman in that scene, not just with the outfit, but, that's where Diana decides, okay, I'm going to, defend mankind. I'm going to do this, and she's opening up that supply line to that town. Best scene. It's a couple minutes long, not just her with the bullets, clearing out the town. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Okay. I have two, but you already took No Man's Land, so I'm letting you have that
feel
one.
like it's the obvious choice.
It is the obvious choice.
It's so cool, though. I would watch just that.
I thought the boat scene was the obvious choice, but,
That's a good scene, too.
All right.
But
mine is actually, and this is going to be a little controversial, No Man's Land, but to bring it back to one that's just up there with it as well for me, is during the climax of the film, which is when Steve Trevor goes to sacrifice himself and he speaks to her, but you can't hear what's being said, and then it comes back to that a few minutes later, where my take on that is, I've talked to people, and some people are like, I didn't think she heard his last words, and I'm so glad that she did. I don't think she did. I think, what you see later on is what she wishes was said by Steve, and that it once again just re-solidifies her inspiration, because she had lost her faith in mankind again by that point. But the fact that Steve says, I can save today, you can save the world, and then goes and saves the day basically before she takes down Ares, that I felt was really powerful. And just, we've all been in situations where, we've lost people at this point. We're adults. That's what happens.
Spoilers, kids.
Yeah,
Spoilers, kids.
If you're a child,
Yeah.
people unfortunately die and leave us and whatnot. But we've all been in spots where we wish that we had those final conversations, and we always, I like to think we look back fondly on those people that have left our lives. And it just made the movie feel that much more real to me.
Okay.
To have that type of moment in it. And I felt, not only did it, define the relationship that existed between those two characters, but, it just further pulled the audience into believing in Diana and what she stood for.
Right on. Yeah. Okay.
I still don't think he's dead, though, so...
See them giving her if they set the next Wonder Woman in modern
because he's signed on for multiple films.
Yeah, I could see them. He's the grandson, because they do that in comics too.
No, I think I think you literally see him if they do another. Well, they already announced they're going to do World War II. I think it's going to take place probably for World War II, if not Korea. I think they'll do another set piece around there because then he still wouldn't be that old quite yet. He would still be working for the military.
Yeah, but I mean, he blew himself up.
He didn't blow himself up.
He totally blew himself up.
He blew himself up.
He didn't blow himself up. Parachuted out, shot the tank.
See, I think
this isn't Batman in The Dark Knight Rises. This is Steve Trevor making a heroic sacrifice.
This is literally Battlefield Earth when they blow up the plane in Battlefield Earth. The book, not the movie. But thank you.
Still.
All right. See, I think if this movie had done poorly and it was the last we were ever going to see of Wonder Woman and it's a self-contained film, he blew himself up. He died.
Yeah.
In the course of this film, he sacrificed himself. In the sequels, though, I could totally see them doing what you're saying. They're going to put a little scene in the beginning. They're going to do Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he's going to be in the plane and then he jumped out and found a parachute last second. He shot it while falling.
I know exactly what's going to happen. Wonder Woman's going to go to a little cafe in Florence.
Oh,
and Steve's going to be there with Chief.
Oh, yeah, that's what they'll do. Okay, so no, he blew himself up, but his charred remains landed in the Lazarus pit. And then Wonder Woman 2, Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they need to do that character right. Nothing against Liam Neeson, but...
I literally do not think that they let him die.
Yeah, after Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, they'll get Michael Cera's Ra's al Ghul. Oh my god! Yeah, it just seems
Michael Cera gets cast as Ra's al Ghul, I'm done. This show's over.
Are you kidding? Like, we would be like clairvoyant. If anything, that's going to bring us into the big time.
Wasn't he in Lego Batman?
Yeah, he was Robin.
Yeah, that's about the extent of him. He can just do the Lego Batman movies for the rest of his life, and he'll be good.
Yeah. I hope they keep making those.
Yeah.
All right. Wonder Woman, though, was excellent.
Yeah, so...
Go see it. Enjoy it.
Any other final thoughts?
Nah, I don't got nothing.
All right. So, yeah. With Twice Nice, go see Wonder Woman. It was phenomenal. It was great. Like this video. Subscribe. Check us out on OutrightGeekery.com. I'm Nerdcore for Obi the Boy and Twice Nice Samurai. Damn it, go see the movie.
Do it.
Do it.